Today, we saw gold making another new all-time high, and the dollar index finally starting to show some signs of weakness. We look at the fear and greed index, we are sitting at 61, which is exactly where we closed yesterday. Now, today after the bell, we have a lot of earnings coming out. We have AMD, Alphabet, Snap, Chipotle, and Visa, just to name a few. Now, will they continue to push markets up higher, or are we about to see stocks come crashing lower? Today, we look at how the indices fared across the board. The Dow was down 154 points. NASDAQ was up 145 points. S&P 500 up 9.5 points. Russell 2000 down 0.65. We look at advancing issues versus declining. We see we had 56.8% of issues declining on the day. Then as we come over and look at the sectors leading out here today, basically communication services and technology were the only two sectors in the green. Every other sector was in the red. Now, as we come over and look at gold real quick, one thing that we've been talking about for weeks now was the fact that this A to B equals CDD pattern right up here at 2782.3. And if you notice what happened today, we were able to go ahead and take out that price point. So is that all she wrote out here for gold? Will gold finally start to turn back lower, maybe coming all the way down towards 2715? Or are we going to still see more uncertainty in the market and see gold shooting up higher? Right now, if you look at this article from MarketWatch, stock market investors may have no clear playbook for a Harris election win. Now, what it's going on to say is if the Orange Man ends up winning the elections, they can basically use the same playbook from 2016. Why is that? Well, because he has already been in office. However, what is going to happen come election night next week if indeed the candidate the market is not pricing in actually wins the presidential election? I can tell you for sure that we're going to have one heck of a wild ride out here. Now, if we come over and take a look at crude oil today, crude oil probed a little bit lower, but for all intents and purposes, a candle of indecision, a wick on the top, wick on the bottom, roughly about the same distance from top to bottom. Now, I want to remind you guys of this stat that I shared with you guys over the weekend. And basically what it's going on to show us is right now we are entering a very bullish period of time for the stock market. Now, is this time going to be different as we have a major presidential election, or are we going to go ahead and follow along with this stat? Basically, what it's showing is from October 27th through November 13th, out of the last 27 occurrences, 24 of those times have been bullish. Only 3 of them have been in the red. Now, we come back and we look at some of the companies that had earnings. For instance, let's take a look at AMD after the bell. What is AMD doing? Yikes, a big haircut on the way down. And we're talking about this today, all right? Basically, AMD was rally, up almost 4% on the session. Now, after hours, down 5.47%. We take a look at Google. We can see Google after hours spiking on the way up, was up 1.66% today, and after hours adding another 3.37%. We take a look at Snap. What do we see after hours? Snap basically had a big snap to the downside, coming on the way back up. Today we can see it was up 1.68%. After hours up 6.16%. Now the next stock I want to look at real quick is going to be Chipotle, which I had for lunch today. So hopefully I'm helping out their earnings a bit. And yikes, after hours not doing so well. Today it was down 0.18%. After hours down 6.5% on the session. Well, we have one stock left. What about Visa out here? Visa after the bell having a rocket ship on the way up. Today it was down 0.81%. And after hours up 1.28%. So you can see we've kind of had a mixed bag in terms of the earnings that have come out so far after hours. And let's not forget, tomorrow before the bell, we have Lilly coming out, Caterpillar. Then after the bell, Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, Robinhood. On Thursday, we're going to have Amazon, Apple, Intel. So we are action-packed with a lot of earnings to come out for the remainder of the week. And let's not forget, it's not only earnings we have to deal with for this week. We come over and look at the economic calendar. Tomorrow is starting off at 8:15 a.m. We have the ADP non-farm employment change. Then at 8:30, we have advanced GDP numbers coming out quarter over quarter. Then at 10 a.m., we have pending home sales. 10:30, we have crude oil inventory numbers. Then when we move on to a Thursday, what do we see? The Fed's preferred measure of inflation, core PCE price index, followed by the weekly unemployment claims as well, and also employment costs quarter over quarter. Then on Friday, hold on, buckle up. We have the non-farm employment change, the average hourly earnings, and the unemployment rate. Then at 10 o'clock, ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing prices. So we have a lot for the market to digest this week. So hopefully we get out of some of these doldrums that we've been in. Now I want to remind you guys, Apex is having a massive 80% sale off all their evaluation accounts, passing as little as 1 day, and only $85 activation fee across all account sizes. Now, if you're a trader that likes to trade the 150, 250, and 300K accounts, good news for you. After using promo code Mike, the accounts will only cost you $50. If you'd like to take advantage of this offer, use the link in the description box down below. Use promo code Mike at checkout. Now we come over and look at the Dow Jones real quick. What do we see? Well, we're still contained within that big down bar that we had last Friday. We see the MACD indicator is still bearish at this moment. As we dive down, we look at the 1 hour chart though. Notice what we're starting to see. If we come down and we start filling the gap from a few days back, then maybe we'll set up some type of MACD divergence and finally be able to lift up and out of that area. On the 30-minute chart, what do we see? Well, today we basically went above the high from the prior day. Then we came all the way back lower. Now we come over and look at the Russell 2000. Today was down 72 cents on the session, and it's still trying to firm up. It came well off of the lows. We look out here on the 1 hour chart and see the MACD indicator kind of flatlined right here. We had the gap lower today. So now we have a situation where we gapped up on Monday, we gapped down on Tuesday. What is going to occur moving forward? Because if we start to turn back down, that could be a little island reversal that we have right here for the market to move a bit lower. However, when we look at the 30-minute profile, notice essentially this morning we went below the low of Monday. And once we started getting back above that area, then it kind of made sense to try to, play this back to the long side, maybe trying to test value area low. Well, you know what? Today, we never made it back to value area low, and there's still that gaping gap. So we have a gap above us and a gap all the way below us. Now, the good news for the bulls, we're a little bit closer to the gap above us than we are to the gap below us at this moment. Now, as we come over and look at the Qs real quick, what do we see? We have this upper level consolidation. We're trying to push up and out of that area. MACD indicator at this moment is essentially flat. Then when we dive down, we look at the 4 hour chart, MACD indicator is slightly crossed to the upside, but notice we start to get a little bit of a wick on top of this candle. And given the location of it, I'm not thinking it's extremely bullish. We look out here on the 1 hour chart, we basically have a 1-2 reversal right here at the very end. Then as we dive down, start looking at the profiles, notice what we did today. All right. They basically ran it down first and then ran it up. This is what we talked about in yesterday's analysis video as well. Yesterday was an inside day in kind of a D as in dog shape profile. And I expect the first move would be a trap and then move back the opposite direction. Today just happens the first move was to the downside. And that's exactly what happened. We basically trapped it and ran it on up. As we come over and we look at the futures markets real quick, notice on the 4 hour chart for the NASDAQ, we basically have this huge selling tail on top of this candle. Are we going to see further prices to the downside from here, or are we going to continue to push up higher and higher? Now, as we come over and look at the daily profiles, one of the areas I do want to watch for is going to be right here within this minus development area. Now, that zone is going to be somewhere about 687 or so. Anything below that, I want to turn my attention to value area high. Why? It appears we're going to be closing above that area. So that means tomorrow or the following day, highly probable we come back and test 20,663.50. Also, pay attention to all the minus development areas we have within the profile, as they can provide additional targets moving forward, which we'll discuss tonight during the live stream. And if you want to make sure you don't miss the next live stream, make sure you're subscribed and you have the bell notifications turned on for all. Now, if we can crack below value area high and we can hold below it, then that is when I want to target some of these levels. Now, notice the point of control is down here at 20,492.00. Value area low is going to be 20,435.50. I do not want to have my target. If you're looking for a volume profile rotation, I do not want to have my primary target down here at the point of control, as it's very close towards value area low. Instead, I'd rather use this high volume distribution node somewhere in the ballpark of 20,599 or so. See if we can make it down towards that area. But keep in mind, if you're looking to target this, we must get below value area low. Right now, I want to focus on the minus development area here. Then if we crack value area high, look at this next minus development area right below value area high. Now, as we come over and look at the SPY real quick, you can see we're basically dead smack in the middle of this upper level consolidation. MACD indicator on the daily still leaned a little bit bearish. However, things could drastically change with all the news that we have coming out and all the earnings. You can see the MACD indicator trying to make its way down towards the zero line. And we do have a huge minus development area all within the profile, anywhere from about 578.5 to right around 574. So that could be an area of interest we want to pay attention to. On the 1 hour chart, what do we got going on? Well, MACD indicator slightly above the zero line, trying to get a little bit of a cross to the downside. On the 30-minute chart, you can see we're basically flatlined here. But again, we can see yesterday was a D-shaped profile inside day. And this morning, what do? They tried to break it to the downside. And what do? Ran it right back on up. Now, what is going to be in store for tomorrow? Well, tomorrow, you can see that we're kind of closing within value. And the question is, do we stay above value area low or not? If we get below value area low, I do want to focus on this minus development area down here on the profile. And that's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 580.10 up here to about 580.23. Now we come back and we look at the futures markets for the S&P 500. What do we have? Well, we can see we started to push up out here today. And for all intents and purposes, we have stayed within last week's value area high and value area low. Not a whole lot to report on from this chart. However, as we come over and we start looking at the daily profiles, notice that value area high is slightly above us at about 5881.75. We got the point of control down here at about 5878.75, with value area low being down here at 5860.25. Now notice right below us, we do have a minus development area at about 5876.00. Now there's not a lot of meat on that bone in terms of if we were to take a trade right here, not a lot of, potential for monetary gain trying to target that area. So instead, I'd prefer to see a push above value area high. And then as we start coming back down, we could look at this as a target location along with the point of control and value area low. If we start breaking value area low, then I will want to focus on this other minus development area down here at about 58.55 down to about 58.53. Now, if you guys would like to check out my funded futures approach to direct funding, make sure to watch this video right here.